I'm Jacqueline Sustaita, President of the Weslaco ISD Board of Trustees. This public hearing is being conducted in compliance with the Texas Open Meetings Act. Notice of this hearing has been posted online for at least 72 hours. A recording of this hearing is being made and will be available to the public at a later date. The time is now 5:24 p.m. and I'll call this hearing to order. I'll now begin the roll call. Trustee Rodriguez?
Present.
Trustee Cuellar?
Present.
Trustee Castillo? Trustee Trevino?
Present.
Trustee Nieto?
Present.
Trustee De Los Santos?
Present.
Let the record show that a quorum of board members is in attendance. We will move on to item number 3, public hearing on proposed 2023 to 2024 tax rate.
Yes, Mr. David?
Good afternoon, all. So as we think about the school taxes, we actually do this as a public hearing to give a chance for the public to understand how the tax rate was actually proposed for today's later on agenda item. So on September 9th, we posted in the newspaper on the monitor this exact notice. And so we're going to actually go through the notice so that we all know how it's being prepared, who gets to actually vote for that, and also, or not vote for it, but for them to be aware of the tax rate, but also all the other updates from the property taxes, the property values, and things of that nature. So again, we do tell the public we are going to have this meeting here in this building, in this room, today at 5:15-ish. And the whole idea is to be able to just share what will be the tax rate for next year. So the two numbers that make up our tax rate is the maintenance tax, which is, some people call it the maintenance in operation. Another name for it is M&O, kind of like M&M, but M&O. We also have the school debt service, which is also known as interest and sinking, or also INS. So whenever we talk about school district taxes, it's actually two buckets, but we always present them as one. So for the maintenance and tax, it is 0.7314 pennies. So it's almost just a little bit more than 73 cents per 1,000 of assessed value. And I'll talk about that math in a little while, why we need to talk about it. It's actually $100 per assessed value. But for our debt service, and that is for the monies that will be paid for our outstanding bonds and also interest of 21.5 pennies. So when we add those two together, it would be 94.64. So that's going to be the number that we're going to be remembering for a while. The next thing we want to share is what is the tax values of last year to this year. So we always want to kind of compare how did the property values of all the different types of property that's here in Weslaco ISD. So the biggest number I'm going to pick on is actually the third one there. $3 billion was last year's assessed value. And so when we think about last year's, it was, again, $3 billion. This upcoming tax year, which is the latest numbers we did receive from the Hidalgo County Appraisal District, $3.3 billion. So it increased about 10% from last year to this year. So just FYI, this PowerPoint will be on our district website. It also will be, it was posted in the monitor. And so the other item, so this is the third box in that section, it talks about how much debt does the district have. And so right now, we have $36,339,977. Again, we have several bonds and several refunded bonds that is still on the books that we intend to pay over the next following years. Then the last section of slide 3 talks about the comparison of the tax rates from last year to this year. So if you ever wondered how much it was, last year was 0.9593. This year, we are proposing a lesser tax rate of 0.9464. So we're talking about 0.70 of a cent less from one year to the next. And so some of the things that I do want to mention is that if we ever look at what is the maintenance on operation versus the interest and sinking, from one year to the next, we do see that because of tax compression, what had happened at the state, we do have a lower tax rate for the M&O side. Because we are going out for a bond and we're also defeasing, or in other words, paying off debt early, we do see a larger portion for the INS. But at the end of the day, when we add those two rates together, it is still going to be almost a penny less. We're almost finished with this report. So on slide 4, we now compare property values of the district when we compare last year's to this year. So last year, if we were to say what was the tax rate and how did that affect the normal, let me see, next slide. Okay. So again, we're looking at the top part of slide 4. If we were to look at it and see what were the typical value for year 22, so last year's tax rate, a normal home would average about $132,000. We take away the $40,000 for the homestead exemption. We see that with last year's tax rate of $95.93, a typical home would pay about $888. This year, that typical home rose in value. We have nothing to do with that. That is at the appraisal district. But the tax value of a average home is $168,000. This November, you should see as one of the constitutional amendments to increase the homestead exemption from $40,000 to $100,000. The state has already kind of said, go with that increase, it's going to pass. I mean, it's very unlikely it won't. So a typical home, $168,000, will now only be taxed at the $68,000 level. With our lesser tax rate of $94.64, that same typical home is going to pay $650. Again, if we compare that to last year's, the typical home of $132, it is going to show a big reduction of $237 on average. And so that's one of the nice things, again, so you're getting a double benefit here, a lower tax rate and a higher homestead exemption for those who have that on their primary residence. One of the other items that we always have to check out is what is the highest rate of taxes we could have without going for an actual tax rate election. So if you notice, we have to share. 94.64 is that maximum. And so we are actually having that lesser tax rate for this upcoming year. One of the last things that we have to share with the public is how much money is in our fund balance. Another way of thinking of it, how much money do we have in our savings? For our maintenance and operations, we should see an increase. Again, November, we will present the actual audit book, $74 million and change. Our interest in sinking, it is a little bit tight, $69,000. But we hope as we collect our taxes, we change the rates, we should have sufficient funds to always pay our debt. So again, this will be on our website. It was posted in the newspaper 10 days beforehand, and we'll actually have some of that information as part of your agenda items. But with that, we do have our public hearing finished.
Thank you, Mr. Rivera.
I don't know if there's any questions
Anyone
from the
sign up?
audience.
Anyone sign up to speak?
Any public comments? Anybody?
Mr. Robel, I have a question.
Go ahead.
I know the exemption is 100,000, correct? Did they decide how long will that exemption stay in place? For a year, 2 years? What have they decided on that?
So there's a reason why it is actually coming up as a constitutional amendment.
Okay.
So it becomes law if approved.
So in November.
So it'll be
when-
forever and ever until the state proposes another amendment. But if it does, the people have to vote yes.
So the answer is forever.
It's going to be forever.
Until they change.
So yeah.
Okay.
So it used to be 25, or it used to be 15,000, then 25, then 40. Now it
So
should be
question
100.
number 2 for our stakeholders. Do you have to apply for it or it's automatically?
If
in
you
the-
currently have it, you don't have to do anything.
Okay,
But let's say you buy a home,
correct?
now you have to go to the Hidalgo County Tax Office or the appraisal district, preferably the appraisal district. There's a form.
Correct.
And you fill it out and you will get that 100,000 exemption for the 2022-23 school year,
Okay, thank you.
or tax year, I'm sorry.
Right,
So
correct.
again, someone that had it before, you do not have to apply again.
Yeah, if you already have it, you're good to go. It's when you don't have it,
Right.
then you need to begin that process.
Are there any other questions by any other board members? No. Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Rebello, for informing us. I know that our job now as a board is to go out there and inform the community. And you guys have been doing a great job educating us, meeting after meeting and workshops on this bond that we've had. I know we've heard it over and over, but it's good to keep continuing to hear it so we know exactly what to tell the community when it's our turn to go out there and educate them on what this bond means and how it affects them. So thank you very much. No public comments, so that is adjournment for the public hearing. And we'll move on to our regular board meeting. All right, so we'll go ahead and begin with the regular board meeting. Okay, good afternoon. I'm Jacqueline Sustaita, President of the Weslaco ISD Board of Trustees. This regular board meeting is being conducted in compliance with the Texas Open Meetings Act. Notice of this meeting has been posted online for at least 72 hours. A recording of this meeting is being made and will be available to the public at a later date. The time is now 5:36 p.m. and I'll call this meeting to order. I will now begin roll call. Trustee Rodriguez.
Present.
Trustee Cuellar.
Present.
Trustee Castillo. Trustee Trevino.
Present.
Trustee Nieto.
Present.
Trustee De Los Santos.
Present.
Let the record show that a quorum of board members is in attendance. We will move on to item number 3, the invocation.
All right, would you be so kind to bow your heads and let us pray? Heavenly Father, our Lord Jesus Christ, we come before your mighty throne of glory to honor, praise, and glorify you. Thank you for the opportunity to gather in this setting. Joyful, Lord, that we gather face to face. Thank you for your faithfulness, providence, and protection over the lives of our students, staff, and families. We thank you for the start of another amazing year at Weslaco ISD. Father, we continue to ask you to bless and grant greater wisdom to our superintendent, Dr. Richard Rivera, for his amazing heart towards our most precious resource, our students. Thank you for our board members, Madam Jacqueline Sustaita, Vice President Isidoro Nieto, Secretary Dr. Jaime Rodriguez, Trustee Ben Castillo, Trustee Armando Cuellar Jr., Trustee Marcos de los Santos, and Trustee Jesse Trevino. Bless them and their families beyond measure for their service and sacrifice for our community, their efforts and accomplishment for the betterment of our students. I am certain, Lord, is always in your memory. Father, may your will be done in all of our board meetings, not our will, but yours. Bless our administrators with wisdom, integrity, patience, and the physical and mental strength in the midst of these trying times. Bless us all with strong support from parents, teachers, and the community. Above all, bless our students with divine protection, physical and mental health, and providence. May nothing lack in their homes. May their homes be filled with love and support. We ask you all this in your precious and mighty name of Jesus. And everyone says, amen.
Amen. Thank you, Mr. Trevino, for that beautiful prayer. We'll move on to item number 4, the Pledge of Allegiance and the Texas Pledge.
Good evening, everyone. At this time, we'd ask everyone to please stand, place their right hand over their heart, and face the United States flag. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. At this time, we'd remain standing, place our right hand over our heart, and face the Texas flag. Honor the Texas flag. I pledge allegiance to thee, Texas, one state under God, one and indivisible. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Buttimer. Item number 5, awards and recognitions.
Madam President, there are none today.
Thank you, Mr. Robledo. Item number 6, proclamations. We have several, and I don't have the... Let me see here if we have, would you like to read them? Because I don't have them.
Okay. So I'd like to read a proclamation for several, for the month of September and also for some of the individuals that we are honoring in the month of October. So Weslaco Independent School District has a long-standing tradition of excellence and strives to bring together all resources to provide our students and staff with the best opportunities for success. To that end, Weslaco ISD acknowledges and celebrates initiatives, departments, and organizations that join in our efforts to develop, expand, and enrich our learning environments for students, parents, and employees. Therefore, Jacqueline Sustaita, President of the Weslaco Independent Board of Trustees, does hereby proclaim September 23 as National Suicide Prevention Month, National Childhood Cancer Awareness Month. We proclaim in October 2023, next slide please, Dyslexia Awareness Month, School Custodian Appreciation Month, Texas Education Human Resources Day, October 12th, 2023, Red Ribbon Week, October 23 through the 27th, 2023, in Weslaco ISD, and urge all our citizens to recognize with appreciation our district's commitment to education and helping our children achieve their highest potential. In official recognition whereof, affix the signature on the 19th day of September 2023, Jacqueline Sustaita, President. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Robledo. Okay, we'll move on to item number 7, public comments.
There are none.
Thank you, Mr. Martinez. Item number 8, superintendent's report.
Yes, you have a hard copy. Let me go ahead and start with this presentation. Page 1 has the enrollment. I'm proud to say that we are higher than we were last year. And the enrollment as of Friday of last week was 16,354. So that's about 500 more kids than what we had last year. So we started the year real good with the enrollment. Page 2, I want to report on the first 3 weeks of school. Student safety, I want to report that we have 10 Weslaco ISD security guards that have completed certification and now can carry a gun. So back in June, we had none. So these 10 have gone through the process, they become certified, and so now every campus has a certified security guard with, can carry a gun, and we also have the resource officers, and we contracted out with a firm. So we've done that part of the House Bill 3, the school safety. We also have the vaping sensors. It was a big issue, problem last year. So now in the middle schools and high schools, we have these sensors, and they can detect many things. from chemicals to loud noises to yelling and screaming. So we feel that this will help our discipline in our schools. I'm proud to say that we have certified teachers this year in all the core classrooms. On D, the COVID, there's an update on this. We want to go ahead and do remote conferencing. We do have some kids in our schools that have been identified as having COVID, so they're home, but we're going to continue the instruction through the remote conferencing. Good Side Health is also available for the families that need assistance, and for some of these, there's no cost. There's a co-pay, but we do have that for our kids that do not have the insurance to be able to have the doctors see them. On page 3, we want to continue with the ACE 21st Century in the classrooms. We have about 800 students right now identified at risk in 10 campuses, and the program runs from 3:30 to 6. And these kids, again, are identified, and we have staff that are working with them, the ones that are at risk. As I mentioned, the enrollment is higher than last year. On H, we want to continue to monitor the pre-K3 and pre-K4. I will give you a count tomorrow, but right now in the 10 campuses, some are very high, but through different adjustments and moving and doing different things, they're now all at where they're supposed to be. So the counts are very good, again, in the pre-K3 and pre-K4, and tomorrow I'll give you the exact count through an update. On I, we're going to continue to balance the student and staff counts. We found out some of the schools had high numbers, some had low numbers, so we had to move staff around to be able to make the adjustments. So we've done that already, and now we don't have to hire any more teachers. So right now, again, at all our schools, for the most part, the staffing, the counts are good. Student discipline, we have the alternative education program in all our schools. We're going to address the severe infractions. We're going to address bullying. It's a no-nonsense approach. We want our kids to have good discipline. Traffic concerns, for the first week, there were some concerns, especially at Memorial. And now we're trying to add a second additional drop-off pickup area to be able to alleviate the traffic there. So I will keep you monitored on this. So these are concerns that we have addressed, and we're okay now on the ones that I mentioned. On page 4, I want to mention what I mentioned several times. We had a shortfall of $16 million. Last year, the ADA was budgeted $15,700. The actual count was $13,800, so at 93%. So we were in the red, $16 million. So for this year, we budgeted $14,000, and for the first 3 weeks, the ADA is actually higher, $14,655. So the higher the count, the additional monies that we're going to get. But we're still in the red, and I'll mention that in a minute. And on the bottom, you can see we had 93%. One percentage point. These are last year's figures. In 93, we received $127,472,000. Had it been 1% higher, it would have been $128,843. 2% higher, it would have been $130. So the principals know how important it is to go ahead and continue. The enrollment is there, but now we have to have a good ADA for instruction and for additional fundings. On page 5, I want to mention the budget. In January, as I mentioned before, there was a budget deficit of $16 million. This August, it has been reduced to $9 million. So we're still in the red, $9 million. We have to do some things to be able to cut that deficit. So how are we going to be doing this? On C, we're going to continue with the daily ADA, the optional flexible school day, the increased enrollment, reduce staff as needed, we've done that, reduce the overtime cost. We anticipate additional fundings from the state, increased collection of property taxes, and then the reduced travel, furniture, utilities, and reduced cost with less full-time substitutes. Again, we're in the red still, but by doing these things, I can assure you, I'm very confident that by May, we're going to have a balanced budget with this $9 million. And on the 9 million, the big reason we're in the red that much, because we had staff that was funded through ESSER. The money ran out, and now they have to go back, convert to local. So that was the main reason we're in the red, this amount of money, but again, that was done for different reasons. But now there's a way to address this and be able to find the 9 million to balance the budget. I know sometimes by moving teachers around, by just doing different things, we've done this, and again, people don't understand sometimes that we're in the red, $9 million. We have to find a way to find the monies, reduce the cost, to be able to have the balanced budget. So that's a goal that we have. On page 6, status of pending projects. The district billboard, ERO was unable to proceed with the project. An agenda item is included to move forward with this project. The aquatic center, everything is in order, and we should have this ready by March for installation. The security access controls is complete. It will be brought back to the board for final completion in October. HVC upgrades for Memorial Airport North Bridge. We're working on with the engineer on this one. We have the drawings, and this should be ready, completed by October. The fire alarm systems upgrades for Silva Gonzalez has been completed. The staff is working on these projects for final completion. KWES, Mary Hogan, Kate Marquise, the project is near completion. Playground equipment, it should be completed by October. In the last bullet here, we're going to have, through ESSER funds, we're going to have new playground equipment in all our schools with pre-K3, special needs. The goal is September 24. Hopefully, we'll get it sooner. On page 7 are the projects. The vestibules district-wide with the COPS grant. We've done some, but we still have to do others. The automotive and welding equipment project with the grant has been delivered. The installation is there, and the last pending equipment is underway. In fact, I saw it this morning at the campus. The scoreboard is one that we've had some difficulties with. The project engineer provided final drawings. Staff is working to request the quotes, hopefully under 50,000. The present scoreboard is fixed and is usable, but we want to have the new one, and the project is supposed to be completed hopefully by October. The exterior door replacements district-wide through ERO, gain information to generate a proposal for this project. The fuel station tanks are in very bad condition, and tonight on the agenda, you have an agenda for us to go ahead and continue with this project to be able to fix them. It's a dangerous situation, so something happened there. Activity buses are in order. We should get 2 in the spring, and the 2 hopefully this summer. Travel vans are here, they're in use. And then I mentioned the vape detectors. Update on the self-funded insurance through the claims, RX, fixed cost. The total is almost $1 million more than last year. And if you look at the funding, we funded at about 20 million, and we spent about 23.2 million. So there's a rate in the red there about 3 million. However, because of the additional revenues through ESSER COVID, which will end this year, so we have one more year, and the stop loss reimbursements will be able to balance, balance the budget for this year, but this money on the COVID will not be there next year. So we have to take very careful look at this to make sure that we don't wind up in the red. To the right, there's some rebates that still are due in October, 417,000. So we'll keep you posted on this one. The new plan starts September the 1st and ends August the 31st, but we do have runoffs still that happen during the year. On page 9, this is a self-funded workers' comp, and you can see that last year we had 120 claims. This year, 136. Total incurred about 400,000. In our budget, we funded 460. We spent 400,000. So there's a small fund balance. Then there also the big fund balance that we have left is 176,000. So this new plan starts in September and it ends on August the 31st. The next slide is I have the bond election. And again, there's three propositions: school improvements, fine arts, athletics, $160 million. And this is the plan on page 11. On page 11, the homeowners will pay approximately 33%. The state will pay the rest, the 67%. So that's very good as far as having the state pay 67 and the district, the homeowners, just 33%. So that is real good. We mentioned the homestead exemption of $100,000. Homeowners will pay less school taxes. Again, the amount varies there. We think it's going to be about 500 less. So whenever everyone gets their statements in October, it should be less than the previous year. We're looking at 500. I know Mr. David mentioned less than this, so we'll keep you posted on the exact amount, but it should be less than what was paid last year to the homeowners. The tax rates. Weslaco ISD in 23 was 0.953. For this year, it's going to be 1 cent lower, 1 penny lower, 94.64. So it's 1 cent lower, but in 25, we get the penny back with the bond election of 95.64. And I'm proud to say that from past years, Weslaco ISD will continue having the lowest property tax when we compare all the big districts, the 6A and the 5A. So again, this is very good for our citizens. Our schools benefit the community, it promotes new business, promotes real estate sales, future homeowners. It produces a qualified workforce, a positive home value with equity, and promotes the image of the all-American city. So this is, again, the taxes. You can see with the bond election, there's a very slight increase. On page 12, these are the improvements that we need as part of the bond election. There's student restrooms, there's campus roofings. On page 13, the tennis courts, again, the campus HVAC. On page 14, you have the campus air conditioners. They're in bad shape. On page 15, as part of the bond election, we have the Ag Farm Arena. We have the running tracks. On page 16, we have the schools with vestibules. This is for safety, student safety, and staff safety. These are checkpoints. When people come in, they have to report to the area that's here. They cannot go into the regular building. So these schools have it right now: Margot, Sam Houston, Ibarra, Cuellar. So the checkpoints there for outsiders coming in, they can't go in. They have to go there and sign up, and then they'll let them in. So we're trying to do this as part of the bond election with all our schools. On page 17, there's schools without. So here is a free access to the schools at Airport, Fleckler Held, Rico, Gonzalez, Memorial, Ruiz Silva, North Bridge. So again, we want to go ahead and enclose these two for the student and staff safety. Very, very important for us to get this done. On page 18, other schools without the vestibules. We have Garza, Central, Mary Hogue, Weslaco High, Calvillo, South Palm Gardens, and Weslaco East High School. Again, that's part of the bond election. I do want to pass out the information on what we're going to be doing. We're going to be doing this. We're going to be speaking to our staff, to our teachers, to our parents. And this is the one that we're going to go ahead and pass out as we go over this. So on page 19, this is the bond election, November the 7th, early voting, October 23rd, November 3rd. Staff and I will visit all schools and departments to explain the bond election. We'll discuss it with the parents, with civic organizations. We'll have a KWES production, a school board advisory committee, a superintendent's advisory. So the leaflet that you have, again, is what we're going to pass out. I'm not going to go over this completely, but you have on top, you have the propositions, you have the taxes, you have and we compare to the Region 1 5A schools, you have the decrease in taxes with the 100,000 homestead exemption. Then to the right, how much will my taxes increase? If the bond passes, that will be the increase. The average home of 168,000. The estimated tax increase is 687. Then you can see down what the different amounts. And then again, the schools, the bond will promote these things in the community, and then where and when can I vote? So again, this will be shared with the parents, with the staff, as we go and talk to every single school. Then the last page, our goal at Weslaco ISD is to provide our students and staff with facilities that are second to none, ensure safety throughout the district, and cultivate an environment conducive to student learning. So that's my report. I have a
Thank you,
lot of
Dr.
information, so if there are any questions that the board would like to ask me on any of these slides.
I'll start with Trustee Rodriguez. Do you have any comments or questions?
Good job, Dr. Rivera. Thank you.
Thank you.
Outstanding, as always, and looks very, very promising, Dr. Rivera.
Thank you. Trustee Trevino, any questions or comments?
No.
Trustee Neto?
Good information, Dr. Rivera. I have one question.
Yes.
And this is on security personnel. Each elementary school has how many security guards?
At least one.
Okay,
Some have two.
Some do, but the smaller schools have one.
One.
What happens if, say, that security guard is out that day?
That's the plan we're working on.
Okay.
To have a little group to rotate, to
Okay.
cover it.
Perfect.
We're working on that.
Okay.
And the company provides the people, so we'll be able to plug it in.
Okay.
Okay. Thank you. Trustee De Los Santos, any questions or comments?
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay. I just had one question, Doctor, and it was back to the staffing and how we're still moving people around. I know I hear from the community that some classrooms have a lot of kids in them, especially the elementary.
They used to have.
Used to.
Not anymore.
Still working on, I don't know, that was my question. Are we still working on, are we done moving people
They're-
around? Are we?
Yes, they're balanced already. We're through.
Okay. All right. Sounds good.
But if we get more students, then we'll have the opportunity to hire
To
additional
hire
personnel?
additional personnel. Yes.
If
Yes.
some of the
Okay.
schools that are in certain grade levels, they're up there on the information you provided to us in the update?
Yes.
But that was, I guess, before you had restructured.
Right.
Okay.
And are we still waiting for the migrant children, the students that are in the migrant program to come in? So we
Some.
might have even more soon.
It's a very small migrant population now than the way it used to be.
Okay.
But they're still coming in, yes. And we'll make adjustments.
Okay.
I did notice that from the beginning of the school year and the board update you sent us from August up until this last week, the numbers, they were still rising,
Yes.
a couple of hundred in some schools. So we're not gonna see that trend anymore. Do you think, like in the next couple of weeks?
Actually, I want to increase the enrollment.
Yeah, that's, because
That'd be a good problem to
that's
have,
my
yes.
question. Right now, we're doing Lone Star governance, and I know that we haven't spoken much to the community about it, but as a board, we're working on this training called Lone Star governance, we call it LSG. And it's just basically student-focused, student-centered, we're looking at student outcomes. And the board is in charge of inputs. And what are inputs? They're resources, for example, teachers, buses, materials. We as a board have to make sure that we are providing the correct, or the inputs to the district, and you guys are going to give us the outcomes, or the outputs, the testing, the passing rates. So I want to make sure that, for example, I know one of the slides said we're trying to decrease the full-time subs. But if they're needed somewhere, because they have a lot of, numbers, I don't want to sacrifice, in other words, I don't want to sacrifice the kids having a quality education because we want to save on the sub. I want to make sure that they have who they need. And that's my concern, that I just want to make sure the kids have the people, the input, the teacher, the substitute there when they need them. So,
We're trying to have less subs. We have, right now,
Okay.
we have fully certified teachers right now in the core areas.
That's
So,
important.
and the goal that we have is not to have a full-time sub in the classroom.
yes,
We want to have a certified teacher facing boys and girls.
exactly. We want the highly qualified teachers in the classroom.
Yes.
So if needed, we still have room to hire them
Yes.
when new students come in. Sounds good, Dr. Rivera. Thank you so much for this very informative presentation. Well done.
Thank you.
We'll move on to item number 9, presentation by Beatriz Solano, Assistant Superintendent for School Leadership and Instruction.
Hi, good evening,
Good evening.
Madam President, members of the board, Dr. Rivera, and community. So what we present to you, and we have a revised update for the TIA, our TIA capture year. So in closing off our 22-23 school year, we listed on the top half of the revised page just items or events, right, that happened throughout the summer and up until now, and that will continue to happen for the 22-23 school a year, right? So as we know, our district was in planning mode 2 years ago. Last year, for the 22-23 school year, our district, for those who were TIA eligible, collected data. That data was then collected, confirmed, reviewed. Our principals, our administrators attended trainings with Region 1. Ms. Standard and I, our leadership team, attended some meetings or webinars with TEA just to make sure that our data collection year was valid, right, and that the data was reliable. So we are now in the before October little arrow, and that is to submit our data, right, for all these eligible teachers to Texas Tech. We are looking at submitting, hopefully, after we have a TIA meeting in Harlingen this Friday, we're looking at submitting next week. So once our data is submitted, then we will wait patiently until the spring of 2024 to get notification whether our system was denied or approved, right? If we are approved, those teachers who get designated will get their allotment somewhere in the summer of 24, right? And that starts for 5 years. So a great way to compensate, highly effective teachers. And again, it's used as a recruiting and retaining tool for districts, right, to have highly effective teachers in our most neediest schools servicing our populations. So that is for the 22-23. So we're closing off that year, still pending those activities, right? Just to let you know, for our current school year, our 23-24 school year, we are now in our second data collection year for those teachers who still remain or have that eligibility criteria for TIA purposes. We are also, and we presented, I believe it was in the March board meeting this last spring, we presented that we are in planning year for all the other teachers that are now being trained with SLOs, and we'll be fully implementing that. So this is kind of like our mock year to expand, hopefully, next school year and include more teachers in other areas.
Ms. Solano, I have a question. I was speaking to some teachers this weekend, and can you clarify for me, because I'm not sure I understood. If a teacher is eligible, but their campus is not rated as an A, does that make them ineligible?
No, most definitely not. So one of the things, TEA, once we submit the data, Texas Tech has different checkpoints, right, to validate the designation, right? So just to make sure that, as always, there will be skewed data. And skewed data happens because of multiple things: appraiser, evaluations, student growth measures, performance, a lot of things. But one of the data checkpoints does say they look at campus performance in state assessments, right? So necessarily because you're not an A school doesn't mean you're eliminated from the designation, right? Because we're still looking, one of the first checkpoints is looking at your data in your classroom. However, it is not the only checkpoint that they look at.
Okay.
Yes. So campus, obviously campus rating, district rating, it does play a factor, but it doesn't eliminate you automatically.
Thank you for the clarification.
Yes. Are there any questions?
Any other questions?
How many teachers this year qualified or applied for?
So we collected data for 453 teachers for the 22-23 school year, right? So if our planning year with the rest of the teachers goes well this school year, then we will expand for the 24-25 school year to probably double or more, which means, including more of our other teachers, like our CTE, our electives, right, our fine arts, our PEs. So definitely, it's a program, right? TIA will become widely known, right, at all teacher levels.
And the ones that qualify right now, just the core areas?
So you have it here on your table, Mr. Nieto, right at the bottom.
Right.
So it's anyone in K-12 that is using the map data, which is core, right, or anyone who's using the STAR growth measure from 4th through 8th in our EOC.
Okay.
But later on, it can go to
Right.
teachers and electives.
Correct. That is why we're using the student growth measure instrument, the SLO state forms, so that we can include everybody else.
Okay,
Thank you.
Thank you.
thank you very much. Any other questions or comments by anybody else? All right, sounds good. Thank you very much.
you.
Mr. Solano?
Thank you very much, Mayor.
That takes us to item 10, consent agenda. Hopefully, everybody has already had some time to look over it. So I will call you to see if you have any items to pull out. And I'll start over here with Trustee Rodriguez. Any items to pull?
I'll pull AH.
AH? Okay. Trustee Cuellar?
Is that the, what, 10 AH?
Yes.
10?
Okay.
AH,
It's already
same
been
one?
pulled. No.
Okay. Trustee Trevino? Any items to pull out?
None.
Okay. Trustee Nieto, any items to pull?
No.
Trustee Little Santos, any items to pull?
No.
Okay. So then, do we approve the consent agenda except for item 10, AH? Do I have a motion?
So move to approve?
Okay.
Second.
You have a motion by Mr. Nieto and a second by Mr. De Los Santos to approve the consent agenda except for item 10, AH. We'll go ahead and take it to a vote. Trustee Rodriguez.
Aye.
Trustee Cuellar.
Aye.
Trustee Trevino.
Aye.
Trustee Nieto.
Aye.
Trustee De Los Santos.
Aye.
Motion passes. We'll move to item 10AH, which is school leadership and instruction. That is the approval to provide superintendent, that one, right?
No. Business and finance. Business
Oh, I'm
finance.
sorry, A,
H. XAH.
XAH.
okay, that's what I'm seeing
That's on
here.
page 4.
Is mine wrong with the,
So page 4?
Page 4.
my agenda's different
Here, you can have it.
from yours. Okay. No, it is XAH, I see. I was looking at XA and then the different, okay, this is in finance. Approval of the recommended servicing agent for voluntary employee insurance benefit products. Number 1, accident. Number 2, cancer. Number 3, disability. Number 4, critical illness. Number 5, hospital indemnity, GAP. Number 6, term life and AD&D. Number 7, vision. And number 8, whole life, RFP number 24-08-07. Trustee Rodriguez?
My question, Dr. Cantu, we've got 8 voluntary products, when there's multiple agents, who's in charge of policing them, or do they police themselves as to who's gonna get what product? Or does the district get involved with that?
The district doesn't get involved with that. We essentially go out for bids with the carriers.
Okay.
And I guess the analogy would be we're cutting out the middleman by going straight with the carriers. The carriers then would work with any agents that we would select. How they set that up, this presently, what we have currently, the team that we're working with services all the products, essentially. So it's for all.
For all the 8 voluntary products?
Correct. And that team then would be able to service and enroll for all products. That's what we
But
currently
the
have.
ones recommended,
Yes,
Yes.
that's the one who's asking. The ones, right?
that would work the same.
Yes, just wondering how they split that up.
That would be up to them if they want to take the lead on one product or the other. I'll sit with them to make sure that all of the products are taken care of.
And just to make sure somebody's not doing, more work than others, and then,
They'll have to police themselves with
okay.
that.
Okay.
But it will be at the discretion of the staff member, correct? That they can, if they
Yes.
want to work with this vendor or this provider, it's up to the staff, correct?
Yes.
The staff would go to whoever they choose.
Whoever they
Of
choose.
these 4 agents.
Of those 4 agents.
Yes.
To be able to do the work with all of them.
I imagine there's going to be like designated dates at each campus with all 4 vendors showing up? or-
What we'll do for open enrollment, usually we have it mid-October, November-ish. That's the plan for this year. We're ahead of the curve on this one.
Good.
Planned start date is January, so we're in great shape. But we'll allow for them to bring in their enrollment team. They would split the cost however they see fit. That would be up to them to figure that out. We just make sure that they're enrolling our personnel, and our staff would be able to work with any of those agents.
Okay.
Now, like you said, policing, we're not getting involved with that. We're not in that business.
But if they get a little hectic, rowdy, we'll intervene.
Oh, definitely.
Any,
It's our staff. We gotta protect our staff.
Trustee Cuellar, you also had pulled this item out. Did you have
Well,
any comments?
yes, only because of the consistency that we've had with the existing agents, which are Everett, Ortegon, and Tames. We haven't had any issues with them, right?
No issues.
Okay, so, I mean, I don't think we need to fix anything that ain't broke, so. I would like to make a motion to keep the existing agents without adding any more. And that's my motion.
Do I have a second motion?
Second?
Okay.
Okay. We'll go ahead and take it to a vote. And Trustee Castillo just got here, so the motion is on item AH, Business and Finance, to approve the servicing agents for voluntary employee insurance. And Trustee Cuellar made a motion to keep just the three that have already been existing before and adding nobody else.
Okay.
Okay, we'll go ahead and take it to a vote. Trustee Rodriguez?
Aye.
Trustee Cuellar?
Aye?
Trustee Castillo?
Could I get just a quick clarification? The
Yes.
motion is to have the three that we have, Jeff Everett, Mr. Tamez, and Ortegon?
Correct.
Okay. Aye.
Trustee Trevino?
No, I'm gonna abstain.
Okay. Trustee Nieto?
Aye.
Trustee De Los Santos?
Aye.
Motion passes. We'll move on to,
Well,
oh, go ahead. Any comments?
I guess the only thing we were gonna do different was, if we were gonna vote on something like this, we were going to have a presentation by these individuals. And all of a sudden, there is no presentation, and now we're voting on something that, if it's not fixed, or if it's not broken, let's not, to me, that doesn't give us a clear indication of what exactly is everybody doing. I would have really liked to have a presentation so we can vote on something concrete, something that we can see, not something on paper, or we're not giving the staff an option. We're telling the staff, go ahead and select from A, B, and C, and that's it. That's not giving the staff an option. And I don't think we're doing our due diligence of selecting these people for them if we're not seeing presentations. So we're sitting up here making decisions, but there is no presentation. Based on what? Based on
Now-
last names?
After the workshop that we had last week, I believe, we talked about,
So.
okay, well, then we can discuss as the board later on.
Right.
Okay. All right. Sounds good. We'll move on to item 11, discussion items. 11A, update on trainings, conferences, events, and consider future agenda item requests by board members.
So far, none. No action on this one. We don't have anything to present.
Could I ask a question, Doc?
Trustee
Yes,
Castillo, go ahead.
I don't know if you talked about this in your superintendent update, and I apologize for being late. Did we talk about the bond committee and when they're gonna?
No, we didn't talk about the bond committee. Well, we talked about how,
Having a committee.
right, but not when they're going to get started. And
Okay.
when they're going to begin their meetings or anything like that.
Has everybody submitted their I guess appointments? No?
No,
Don't have all the names yet.
Okay.
no.
I did, you did? Yes, on the spreadsheet that they had, the drive, the shared drive where we had to put the names?
Those are the bond committee appointments?
Yeah.
Oh, I think I emailed mine, but I don't know.
The secretary, Ms. Contreras, emailed us a spreadsheet on our email.
Oh.
And it's on Drive, so we could all go in there and type up who we appointed for our bond committee.
Oh, okay. Oh, all
So
right.
you can always go back to your email and look for it. It'll be there.
Thank you.
Alrighty. Any other discussions or items? Okay. Move on to item 12, discussion and possible action. Item 12A, discussion and possible action for the Board of Trustees to consider approval to change the regular board meeting scheduled for November 21, 2023.
That falls during Thanksgiving, so we have two dates, either the 11th, oh, no, I'm sorry, the 14th or the 21st.
14, not the
Yeah,
21st.
Not the 21st.
That's
Yeah.
the break.
That's a break.
I'm sorry, it's the 21st or 23rd. Two dates.
On the same week?
Or the previous week. The week of the 20th to the 24th.
When is the, when's? 14, that's for, what's? They don't have the whole week
I'm
off?
sorry.
For Thanksgiving, they don't have the
Yeah,
whole week off
yeah.
here?
I'm sorry.
So it's the 14th or 16th?
The 14th or the 16th.
Yes.
My mistake.
Could we do the 16th?
I'm fine with it. What's that? Is that
14 or
fall on
16, I'm
a-
fine with either
What does
one.
that fall on?
16th is a Thursday.
On Thursday.
I'm good with that.
Okay, so November the 16th.
I'll make a motion for the
Second.
16th.
Second.
Okay, the motion is for November the 16th by Mr. Castillo and a second by Mr. De Los Santos. Any other comments or questions? We'll go ahead and take it to a vote. Trustee Rodriguez?
Aye.
Trustee Cuellar?
Aye.
Trustee Castillo?
Aye.
Trustee Trevino?
Aye.
Trustee Nieto.
Aye.
Trustee De Los Santos?
Aye.
Motion passes. We'll move on to item 12B, maintenance and operations. Discussion and possible action for the Board of Trustees to select a firm to provide civil engineering services for the replacement of the district's fuel station tanks.
Mr. Marco?
Good evening, Madam President, members of the board, Dr. Rivera. So we're asking for your approval. We're making a recommendation for an engineering firm to assist us with the engineering for the replacement of the fuel tanks for a fuel station. Our fuel station is located at our transportation department. While we're in compliance with the operation of the system and the station, we do need to replace those tanks as soon as possible. So the recommendation is for SWG Civil Engineering Firm from Weslaco to assist us with that.
Motion to approve.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion by Mr. Castillo for SWG and a second by Mr. De Los Santos. Questions or comments by any board members? Okay, we'll go ahead and take it to a vote. Trustee Rodriguez?
Aye.
Trustee Cuellar?
Aye.
Trustee Castillo?
Aye.
Trustee Trevino?
Aye.
Trustee Nieto.
Aye.
Trustee De Los Santos.
Aye.
Motion passes. Move on to item 12D, business and finance. Discussion and possible action for the Board of Trustees to consider approval of a resolution adopting the 23-24 total tax rate of .9464.
We skipped one.
Oh, did I?
This one.
Oh, yeah, I did. Sorry.
12C.
Yeah, I was on B and then I moved over to D. Let me go back to C. Sorry. Discussion and possible action for the Board of Trustees to select a firm to provide structural engineering services to assist the district with the procurement and oversight for the repairs and conversion to digital of the Weslaco Independent School District billboard.
So
Yes, so this agenda item is for the district billboard. The board had previously approved ERO architects for the structural engineering of this project. However, ERO sent us an email and let us know that they were unable to proceed with the project. And so we're reaching out to you for approval of a different firm.
I have a couple questions on
Go
this
ahead,
one.
Mr. Castillo.
So on this one, I've been looking at it since we got that report, right, or that update. And then I went to see what other districts did, and then I looked at ERO's email because Dr. Rivera sent it to all of us. And what he said was, we're not getting any interest because the companies they want to do design build, right? And so thinking back, the procurement method, design build, and thinking back how we did it in PSJ, and for most scoreboards, actually, big scoreboards, they are design build because the vendors, they want to design their own scoreboard.
Correct.
And so why are we going to pick a engineering firm if the best route or the most efficient route potentially is to go through a design build phase?
So essentially, even with a design-build method of construction, we'd have to hire an engineer to be our third party.
So is that what we're going to do?
overseer.
We're going to change it to design build?
Well, not necessarily. So in an effort to try to expedite the project, we're trying to do a procurement where we're going to go out and reach out to vendors who are Percy Co-op approved vendors.
Okay, good.
Yeah, and see if we can get some interested vendors involved, and then we're hiring the engineering company so that they can help us oversee the project.
Okay, so that's
that
the
way.
plan, to look for vendors off of a purchasing cooperative?
Correct.
Okay,
Yes.
awesome.
Yeah, if that fails, then we'll put out an RFP to open it up to other
I
vendors.
think you'll find somebody on a purchasing co-op.
Yes.
Is this where we use Byboard and things
Yeah.
like that? Okay, all right. Okay, any other questions or comments? All right, so do we have a motion?
Motion approved?
For who?
Are you recommending
Yeah,
anybody?
it's Robert Kistner. Robert Kistner. So Robert Kistner is being recommended because they did assist us with assessing the needs of the scoreboard, so they're familiar, the billboard, so they're familiar with the project.
I'll move to approve.
So we're approving Robert Kistner?
Second.
Okay. We'll go ahead and take it to a vote. Trustee Rodriguez?
Aye.
Trustee Cuellar?
Aye.
Trustee Castillo?
Aye.
Trustee Trevino?
Aye.
Trustee Nieto.
Aye.
Trustee De Los Santos.
Aye.
Motion passes for Robert Kistner. Item D, Business and Finance. Discussion and possible action for the Board of Trustees to consider approval of a resolution adopting the 23-24 total tax rate of .9464 on each $100 of assessed taxable property value with the maintenance and operations M&O tax rate of .7314 and an interest and sinking INS tax rate of .2150.
Move to approve. Oh, sorry.
Special motion? There needs to be a special motion for this, right?
Yes.
Why do we need a special motion and what does that mean?
By statutory.
Okay.
Okay, baby.
So it's right here, I could say it.
Yes.
I move that the property tax rate be increased by the adoption of a tax rate of 0.9464, which is effectively a 3.63% increase in the tax rate. And that is a motion that is required by statute. Doesn't necessarily mean that we're increasing the taxes by 30%. It's actually a 1 penny increase, correct, Dr. Rivera?
1 cent decrease.
Oh, 1 cent decrease. But this is just
Emphasis on decrease.
1 cent decrease, but just so the public is aware that the legislature requires us to read the motion like this. But again, if this passes, it is a 1 cent decrease from last year's rate.
I'll second it.
Thank goodness we have a lawyer on the board. Okay, so the special motion was made by Mr. Castillo and the second was made by Trustee Rodriguez. Okay, we'll go ahead and take it to a vote. Trustee Rodriguez?
Aye.
Trustee Trustee Cuellar?
Aye.
Trustee Castillo?
Aye.
Trustee Trevino?
Aye.
Trustee Nieto.
Aye.
Trustee De Los Santos.
Aye.
Motion passes. On to item E, Business and Finance. Discussion and possible action for the Board of Trustees to consider approval of interlocal cooperation agreement between the City of Weslaco and the Weslaco Independent School District for a joint election for the sharing of polling places.
Recommend approval?
How
Move
much
to
are,
approve.
how much are they charging us?
How much are they charging us is the question by Mr. Castillo.
So the Hidalgo County Elections Department is actually charging us about $60,000.
It's been real high in other districts, I was just wondering.
And so it's all based by the number of precincts because we are using a county-wide process. It's not just for the 3 slots at election day or the 1 slot for early voting. They're using all.
I reviewed a contract like this for another district and their cost was $166,000.
So then we have a good rate.
Yeah.
That's
For polling
60,000.
places, when we, this was an issue last time, the last time we had an election. For polling places, we do have some facilities that are off campus. I know that one facility, Stadium of Austin, for instance, is a campus, it's a site that doesn't have students. And that was an issue for me, and I know many others at the time, because we moved it from Stephen F. Austin into Central Middle School. And even though that it was in the facility at the back of the school, the only thing separating them is a fence. And so, and we have a high population of walkers there as well too, not only from Central, but you have Cuellar down the road as well. So I'm just asking if when they can, because I know that at
It's not on this time. We have it off.
We're gonna have it off?
Yeah, it's just,
Okay.
it's Central, Mario Ibarra, and then the city Visitors Event Center. So
But
not Stephen F.
Is it still at Central?
Day of election, actually no kids will be on
It's
site.
Central Middle School,
Oh,
yes.
okay.
Central Middle
So-
School, yes.
Oh, they won't be on there.
It's a work day for
It's a
teachers.
work
Oh, it's a
day.
work day for
Yeah.
teachers, perfect, okay,
But not Stephen F. Austin.
Okay.
That was taken off.
okay.
I did see the videos from last year.
Yes, okay.
And so the board had already, we had already taken.
Work that in, okay, awesome.
For last month to say, hey, November 7th would be a teacher workday. No kids would be on campus.
Oh, perfect.
And
Good
so,
looking out, sir. There you go. Knocked it out of the ballpark on that one. Good.
and we are using the same sites as last year. That way, because I know the location of our voters.
Right.
So
Oh,
we just
perfect.
kept the same 2 locations the district provided.
Yeah, and I know last year we had to cancel classes, and it was abruptly and on a very awkward day. So, yeah, so I'm
So
glad
now
you all
it's
took care of that.
Worked out.
Outstanding.
worked out better this year.
Outstanding. Okay.
I'll move to approve.
Second.
We have a motion by Dr. Rodriguez and a second by Mr. De Los Santos to approve. We'll go ahead and take it to a vote. Trustee Rodriguez.
Aye.
Trustee Cuellar.
Aye.
Trustee Castillo.
Aye.
Trustee Trevino.
Aye.
Trustee Nieto.
Aye.
Trustee De Los Santos.
Aye.
Motion passes. Move on to item 13, closed meeting to discuss A, personnel matters. Number 1, discussion regarding superintendent's recommendation of certified personnel and non-contractual personnel. Number 2, discussion regarding superintendent's recommendation on resignations, retirements of certified professional and non-contractual personnel. Number 3, deliberation regarding the appointment, employment, evaluation, reassignment, duties, discipline, or dismissal of a public officer or employee. Texas Government Code 551.074 and 551.071. B, consultation with attorney regarding, number 1, pending or contemplated litigation. Number 2, a settlement offer. Or number 3, a matter in which the duty of the attorney of the Weslaco Independent School District under the Texas Disciplinary Rules of Professional Conduct of the State Bar of Texas clearly conflicts with Chapter 551 of the Texas Government Code 551-071. It is 6:29 p.m. We will go into closed session. 2 p.m. and we have reconvened in open meeting. Move on to item 14A, possible action if necessary on items discussed in closed meeting. A1, discussion and possible action regarding the superintendent's recommendation on employment of certified professional and non-contractual personnel. Do I have a motion?
So move to approve?
Second?
I have a motion by Mr. Nieto and a second by Mr. Coach Cuellar to approve the item. Go ahead and take it to a vote. Trustee Cuellar?
Aye.
Trustee Castillo?
Aye.
Trustee Trevino?
Aye.
Trustee Nieto?
Aye.
Motion passes. Item A2, discussion and possible action regarding superintendent's recommendation on resignations, retirements of certified professional and non-contractual personnel. Do I have a motion?
Move to approve?
Second?
Motion by Trustee Cuellar and a second by Trustee Nieto to approve. Go ahead and take it to a vote. Trustee Cuellar?
Aye.
Trustee Castillo?
Aye.
Trustee Trevino?
Aye.
Trustee Nieto?
Aye.
Motion passes. That takes us to the last item, adjournment.
So move.
I'll move, okay? It is 7:23 p.m. and we are adjourned. Thank you for coming by today and joining us for our meeting.